right. Well, I don't want to hold us up. I know we had maybe some more folks will jump in here, but there was quite a few others that, if nothing else, we're going to record this. So just to open it up real quick, Carl and I had the opportunity to sit through the new GridFast programming that's about to go live here shortly. And one of the things that the council has been, some of the primary big ticket items that we talk about are: one, reliability, which is not so much anymore; two, improving ROI to incentivize more build out of charging; and then three, reducing soft costs, permitting time, all the things that go into site selection, to working with your utility and permitting and everything else. So this discussion is squarely focused on that. And Carl and I were both pretty impressed by this. And I'm not going to steal any thunder away. So, I mean, if you guys want to go ahead and, I've got my comments that I can add afterwards. The invite was pretty clear. This is a program that's trying to marry up potential site hosts, CPOs, with respective utilities, and looking at more of a grid readiness approach. So, Erin, are you going to kick it off?
So I'm Erin Castigliolo. I'm an economist and data analyst here at EPRI, and I have been part of the team developing the GridFast tool for a little bit over 2 years now. So I will pass it off to Watson so he can give his intro and get us started.
Yeah, hi, Watson Collins, a senior technical executive with EPRI. Joined EPRI about 8 years ago, I think it is now, after a 34-year career at Northeast Utilities, which became Eversource. So I'm a utility guy, a long-term utility guy, and actually a little bit of the father of this whole thing. So I'm the one that kind of got us down this pathway. And what we started, you can go to the next slide there, and just to move it along there. What we did to get started here with this is we wanted to kind of make sure that we knew that this service connection timeline is an issue. And a concern of industry, and we didn't want to write a white paper about it, because that's a report on the shelf, and we wanted to start thinking about what we could do to actually provide tools, provide things to help address that situation, and I'll also tell a little bit of an anecdote just to kind of help set context a little bit for things. So the anecdote I'll say is like I'm going to use I don't know if there's any pizza fans out there, so I'm going to use a pizza shop anecdote to lead this off. Is most of us, when we go to a pizza shop, you call and say, hey, I want whatever kind of pizza you want. And they'll say, okay, it's 25 minutes, maybe you order one or two, whatever. And the pizza shop person's very happy to take that order. And that's kind of like what's happening today with your EV chargers at your home. Like you call the utility and say, hey, I need to set up a single small charger at my home, and it's a straightforward process. It's really pretty well-trodden pathway. The issue is, and now I'll go to back to the pizza shop analogy. The pizza shop, if you called the pizza shop and said, hey, can you get me 75, 100 pizzas in the next hour? The pizza shop guy's going to say, wow, I wish you called us earlier. I wish we knew earlier. I needed to order this. I needed to get staffing. I needed to do, they needed stuff to do. And that's kind of what's happening with the utility service connections that are these bigger size. It's the bigger ones where there's more that has to be done on the utility side than just making the single pizza, mixing the analogies. But there's more to be done than just making one. It's more stuff has to be done and done in advance. And so that's really what this is trying to do, is to get really this dialogue going, really the point two early in the process, so that the utility can deliver based on the timeline the project is planning in the earlier phases. So there's a lot of utilities across the country, and if you think of outreach to all those 3,200 utilities, it's a pretty big lift, and the utilities a lot of times get criticized for gold plating, so they have to be really sure, which means kind of building more than what's required to serve their customers. So that that's really the focus of the regulators, is not let the utilities gold plate things. So there has to be a lot of certainty when these loads are coming, and so we're trying to build things that help create that certainty with utilities, and so that they can demonstrate that to their regulators, that that there's a lot of confidence in what's coming ahead. So I don't know if there any reactions to my pizza analogy story, but I'll pause there before we move ahead, just because if there's any questions before I move into the details of the project.
Yeah, I would say, Watson, for a little bit of background, I mean, we've done over the last several years, put out best practices.
Yeah.
And of course, utility engagement is always number one. So council members are pretty familiar with, contacting the utility early. The problem is that if they get over their skis a little bit too much and they start planning ahead, and then they contact the utility and say, well, no, you're about 4 to 6 years out before transmission is there, or before power is there.
Yeah.
And so that's where the MAP or the Grid Fast program really comes in handy, I think. So we're familiar with that discussion.
Yeah. And really, to finer point to it is what this is trying to also do is to put this in a system, instead of somebody's email inbox where you had that conversation and somebody said, oh, okay, yeah, that's that's coming forward. What we're doing is we're building a system so that thing is not just seen by the account representative on the utility, but it's also seen by the people that do the technical planning inside the utility. So again, there's multiple parties inside of the utility that need to see this, and so that's the point of this, is to make that increase that visibility inside the utilities, so that information is available for action on their part. Good. So we can go to the next slide there. So we've got we had a project, a board level initiative that was established a few years ago, and there's kind of 4 major deliverables that we've kind of released now. The first one is this vetted product list. This has really been something that's been quite a success there. The vendors get their charger information into this catalog, and then a lot of utilities, state agencies, and others use this catalog as a qualified product list when they go out for RFPs or participation in programs and stuff. So this has been really successful, this vetted product list. It's really focused on the chargers and the characteristics of the chargers, and it gives the ability to have a single place where the vendors can get their charging information in a system, and it can be used by multiple entities, state agencies, utilities, even even EV customers that may want to use that as a criteria in their RFPs out there. So again, that's been hugely successful. The second area we've done work on is this e-roadmap, which is it's a graphical representation of where electric EV loads are coming across the country on a bit of a granular scale. So as you can kind of see in that map, there's darker color areas where there's more electric load and lighter color areas where there's less load. And if you go to that eRoadmaps website, you can play around and look in the areas that you're considering. That also has some functionality to look at hosting capacity maps where available on it. What I'm here to talk about today is this GridFast tool, which is really that portal for collaborating on EV projects. So this is how you all would be connecting with the utilities across the country and streamlining that process. And then the fourth thing is we've also delivered these grid ready reports. They're available online also, and a lot of states have been looking at these, and it has information on the jobs that are available, are the jobs and EV load growth, and how EV electrification would impact the states, and it's done on a state by state basis. So those are great. We get the most popular states that actually have been looking at these. The last time I heard the stats, I think it was it North Carolina? Wasn't that one of the most popular states? Which is great to see that it's it's a state that would be a bit of like, oh, okay, that's cool that they're curious, and it's coming from North Carolina. So that's been another good thing to come out of this program there. So we can move on here. So moving really into GridFast. So again, so sorry for another anecdote. I started, thinking about this a bit ago when the transit agency, I'm based out of Connecticut, went to the local utility and said, they want to do 100 buses at their site, and that conversation didn't resolve itself in a way that there was a successful outcome. And so I said, we got to really do something to help. Like, the utilities are saying, talk to us early, but there wasn't a good outcome that was reached. And so we spent a little bit of time, developing some tools, but then we also went out to the, utilities and EV customers, a number of EV customers, and started asking them questions and saying, like, you've tried to electrify. What have you learned? What's been the pain points? What are the problems that have occurred? And so we identified 15 pain points during those interviews, and those are shown on this page. And I'm not going to try and read all of them here, but we did identify 15 pain points. And what we really tried to do with the GridFast tool is, instead of addressing all these pain points one at a time, with specific solutions targeted to each one of these, we tried to integrate that into this GridFast tool as much as possible. So I think at the end of the day, we address, I think it's 10 or 11 of these 15 pain points with the GridFast tool. That's what we're trying to achieve is picking off those pain points that and points of friction in this process, so that we can get to better outcomes, with EV customers getting the projects and timelines that are more acceptable, and utilities, figuring out a way to help help streamline their processes and provide them with tools to help move forward there. So that's really the point of GridFast, is to, in a single thing, address a bunch of these problems at once. So you can go ahead there, Aaron. So like one of the pain points that was kind of like really profound and stuck out to me is this, the amount of time that some EV customers have spent just trying to interface with the utility industry. So one of the big logistics companies says they spent about 6 or 9 months putting together a list of the utilities for their 400 sites. And it took them 6 to 9 months to do that, just to figure out, who's the utility for this site. And that, like, in some ways, this tool is intended to be like presenting a more welcoming front from the utility industry to EV customers, instead of making the EV customers work with the utility industry. We're trying to find ways so that we can, help the utility industry connect better and more effectively with folks in the industry. So that's really, like something that's been core to what we've been trying to do, is making sure that we're really finding ways so that it's easier for you all to work with utilities. This next slide, I think we talk about the utility pain points. So one of the things that they like, this isn't your problem, this is their problem, but one of the pain points they talk about a lot of times is, and it turns out to be, a problem for everybody, is one of the utilities is quoted as saying 90% of the customer forms they receive had to be, are deemed incomplete, and they had to go back and do a one-on-one dialogue with the customer on how to complete those things. And so what we're trying to do inside of this GridFast tool is help through calculators and other things like that, help get this so that it's a better formed project, so that by the time it's shared with the utility, it's better formed and they're less likely to ask, the more questions about, like, well, I need this, I need that, like I need more information. We're trying to get this stuff better formed so that the utilities are better able to act. So, if you can move on there, Aaron. So typically that engagement process with the utility starts with something called a service request, and typically that means that you've hired a consulting engineer, you picked chargers out, and you maybe even hired contractors to build the thing and all that stuff, and you're asking the utility, hey, hook me up. Back to the pizza analogy, like if you were ordering 75 pizzas at that point, you needed to start earlier. So what this is really setting up in the GridFast tool is a process and a tools to enable that earlier dialogue to happen, before that service request. And so how do you get that, that dialogue going and working so that utilities can start acting on the information, and not just wait till that last minute. So the purpose of all this is to get information on the projects years in advance instead of months in advance, as much as possible. Obviously that's not always possible, but it's as much as possible getting that information in there. And so, that this is that online platform. The tool is online now. We did a soft launch in March, so you can log on to the website listed there. It's free for all EV customers. So that's I encourage you to check out the website, log on. If you have projects, start popping them in there, sharing them with the utilities, and get that dialogue going. What you'll see, and I'll talk about is when you put your projects in there, we do read the hosting capacity maps from the utilities that have made them available, and some that just make it available through our tool. And so if that's available, you can see the hosting capacity maps as where they're available, right as you enter in the project, and with also with the standardized information, the utilities are able to also put together welcome packages. And so a number of utilities have put together welcome packages which describe their their rates, their programs that are available to you, and it's put in a standardized format so that, like, if you're looking in multiple areas, you can look at the welcome package for Southern Cal Edison and Pacific Gas and Electric, and look at those and learn more about their programs, and without having to navigate their websites, you get that information right inside of our tool. So we can. So how GridFast works, there's kind of stages there. There's a project input stage, and I think we might show you some screenshots of it. So I won't go too much into the project input, but that's where you would put the information in. You could view the hosting capacity maps if they're available. After you say, okay, this looks pretty representative of what I'm doing, you click submit, and the tool will match you with the utility that serves that area. And then what that match phase then is like the utility then will confirm, oh yeah, that's us. And now starts the dialogue that you can have with them. You can use the GridFast tool to continue that dialogue. We understand some people may just move over to email, but what happens next is that dialogue. You can figure out which program you're going to participate inside the utility, or and which route you're going to pursue, and continue that dialogue, and get yourself prepared so that when you submit a service request, that the project is well structured and ready to move to that stage. So that's kind of the workflow inside of GridFast, of how it works. But I'll pause for questions. I know I'm talking a lot, but I'll pause for questions if there are any before moving to the next slide there.
So Watson, when a user comes in, a CPO or site host comes in, and they got a project of 100 sites, and they come in and they start putting in their data, figure out the utilities. They are the only ones that are privy to that data, right? Where they are going to put those sites is not public information, right?
No, it's not public, and so it's only shared with the matched utility.
Okay.
And only that specific project that's matched. So if somebody put in 100 projects, and not all utilities get to see all 100, like they only get to see the ones that are matched in their service territory. So.
Okay. And
yeah.
Do you foresee this as being kind of the go-to? I mean, obviously we want all 3,200 utilities using this. And they can use this program to kind of set their queue, kind of a first to the table, get the first office, and obviously then of course I would imagine there's going to be something similar, if not already, for AI or data centers that are competing in this space as well. But anyway, the utility then can start to stack on a first in, first out basis. I mean, that would be ideal. And likewise, any potential site host wants to be in here too for that reason as well, so that they can be high on the list of being served.
Yes. And yeah. And that's exactly the point. And so like you said, there's 3,200 utilities and some of the utilities are saying like, wow, this is great. I don't have to build an intake system now. You guys, EPRI, built me an intake system. So what
Yeah.
I'm going to say is like there's going to be out of those 3,200 utilities, there really is probably 25 that might have built their own intake system while we were doing this. But the other, whatever that is, 3,100 and 75 haven't built anything yet. So they're going to be like, okay, this is great. I got an intake system. Now, out of those 25 that already have something, most of them are saying, wow, this is a great complement to our system. So this
Yeah.
this is an enhancement. So like the reality is like it works and for the utilities, especially the ones that really don't have anything yet, which is the majority of the utilities. But it even works for the ones that got mature processes like Pacific Gas and Electric, Southern Cal Edison, those folks where they're also like super engaged with this, trying to figure out how to make it improve and how to integrate it into their system. So they're also super engaged and super supportive. So it's not just it's intended to reach all 3,200.
So I would imagine that with those larger folks that you also have like API capabilities so that you can connect to another utility's back end system or something like that.
Yes, we do have built an API and we're also adding some functionality so that if a utility doesn't have something to read our API, we can still get the forms over. So we're actually building right in the middle of building some additional functionality to make that integration even easier. But we do have an API today.
I And so I think we all understand that all utilities are different, right? None of them, I mean, from co-ops to
Yeah,
munis, and and they all work at different levels, and they have different levels of sophistication.
yeah.
Um, Ideally, this would be so. What I'm hearing is that this is an option put in front of them. It's not a requirement that they use this.
Well, we're going to be I, we're going to be in their face if they don't use it.
Okay. Okay. Good. Good. 'Cause I would want this everywhere.
So we're going to be in their face. So what's going on right now was there's one entity that's quite aggressive with our platform actually right now. Like there's others that are putting in projects, but that we're getting like, multiple projects each week that they're putting into the system. So there's one entity that's really aggressive with this. And
But
and a
oh, I'm
lot of
sorry.
the
Was that on the utility side or the site host side?
one of the
CTO
site
side.
host side, one of the charge point operators.
Oh, okay. Great.
Yeah.
Great. Great.
So that's quite active with this. So and a good number of their projects are matching to utilities that are in that small category bucket. So what happens is that goes and Erin's one of our she does all the white glove work. She receives that request. She reaches out to the utility and says, "Hey, this person's doing this. Like, who do we talk to?" Like that. So
Yeah.
she's got a script on how to engage with them, how to get them to act, how to get them to respond. And so she's got a script with them now. And so she's doing that right now. And so we're doing, but
Yeah.
beyond that, we're trying to reach out to a lot of the co-op, the association of co-ops and the public power groups and making sure that they're aware of this so that we get that more universal acceptance of this. I have yet to present this to a group of EV customers that said this is this is a dumb idea. I don't know why you're doing this. Most utilities like it. They're like, but they'll say, oh my gosh, like, what am I going to do? Like, they worry, I guess. So I wouldn't say utilities are accepting it worry-free, but we work through that with them. We work through all their concerns and worries. But
I would imagine in their head, they're thinking, what am I committing to? Am I committing to a process that I can't uphold because of staffing or whatever the case may be? I would imagine they've got a lot of questions. Yeah.
Yeah, and we work through that, and that's why Erin's kind of like, that's her prime focus, is to work through that with them. So I think what we're trying to do is once we get past the tipping point with this, we expect that once it's a little bit more, I don't want to say once it's established in a certain extent, then it's easier. Each time we connect with utilities and we get more, I don't say ambassadors, that can kind of like help tell the story. And that's kind of the phase we're in right now, is in making sure that we get more ambassadors and people telling the story of how this helped.
So when you're,
go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just gonna ask really quick.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Let me ask Erin a real quick question. Erin, do you have the ability to like upload like multiple lines of lat and longitude for a single owner operator, or is this kind of a one line by one line?
In the same project or for multiple projects? You mean like completely different locations?
Yeah, completely different locations.
Yeah,
with like latitude.
Yeah, that's a great point. We do have that functionality. We call it our batch upload functionality. So
awesome.
We have a template on GridFast, and we provide you like the information that's required. If you have lat long, that's perfect, and you don't even need to put a street address or anything like that. And you can upload, up to dozens, even 100 projects at a time. And if you ever need help completing that, you can also reach out to us, and we can help with that as well.
Okay. Thanks. Sorry, Carl, didn't mean to interrupt.
No worries. So on your capacity information exchange, have y'all standardized what the utilities give back to the applicant, so they can understand what it looks like in the roadmap and how much capacity is left at a certain substation or something? Because when I talked to a lot of the CPOs and our site host members, that's one of their big concerns is that they're told yes or no, I can do this, or it's going to take this long before we have capacity or something like that. But they don't really have visibility into how much capacity is there right now, what's the build out capacity, and how many applicants are ahead of them, so they can kind of gauge, oh geez, do I need to pull the trigger now, or do I have time to wait, or something like that? And what's the visibility on that front?
Yeah. So right now that visibility is like as of July 30th, that visibility is it's kind of related to what's on the hosting capacity maps today. What we're embarking on is a couple things that'll improve that even better than what it is, and one of those improvements will be implemented in September, where we'll have this checklist and it'll be a little bit clearer, and then the second improvement to that will come probably end of this year, maybe first quarter of 2026, which will have a little bit more of that. What you're describing is the understanding the flexibility at the site. Is that what you were getting at?
Yeah, basically, is there capacity for them to do something right now, and it's just an administrative process to get there, or are they in a queue and there's just not enough capacity?
Yeah, and so I've been characterizing that as flexibility, but maybe that's not. So we are embarking on some work to help with that help navigate that. And so that's just going to take a little bit more work on our end on the software to enable that. But there'll be this nice checklist that's coming out in September that'll be an improvement of today. Maybe not exactly where you're going, but where you're going is something that we're aiming for in by Q1 next year at the latest.
Okay. Thank you.
We can move ahead here, Aaron. So yeah. So we mentioned that. I think Aaron, we got 33 states covered by the tool right now with utilities that have their accounts set up on the tool. There's more to come. But even the utility, like even we have projects in states that exist outside of this map, and we make sure that the tool works for all utilities. So that's where we're using email processes, where we're connecting with utilities that are in the states that aren't inside of the tool already. So we're encouraging them to get on the platform. Over time, we expect to have more coverage and build this out. But these utilities are that are listed here are quite active in the tool itself and have welcome packages and have things that and resources available to you all that are interested in working with them. And then the next slide there. For utilities, yeah, we can skip this. For them, it's their fleet advisory services folks and some folks inside the staff. But to this point of like, Patty Poppy, who is the CEO of Pacific Gas Electric, is kind of one of the big sponsors of this whole this initiative there in GridFast itself, and the term she uses is many to many. Like, we know that a utility can build a tool to talk to their EV customers. But then, you as an EV customer would have to deal with the tool that each utility builds. And there's 3,200 utilities. And then that's a pretty big lift if you had to go into these, maybe you're dealing with, 100 different utilities or whatever the number is that you're dealing with. But you have to figure out, navigate to each of those 100 different websites. And what we're trying to do is say, okay, here's the one place that can be that portal to make those connections. So again, we're going to have free versions for utilities that just want to I'll call it lead generation, but just the utilities that are going to catch the projects and engage with you as EV customers. There's the folks that sponsored this work that are going to be having these welcome packages that are going to have more advanced information available for the ones that subscribe to it, and we have this API for when we turn on this service request functionality inside the tool, so that it could actually complete a service request function. And so I think we're gonna.
Yeah,
Aaron, do you want to take over here?
Sounds good. So this is a video that we'll send you this deck so you can watch it whenever you'd like, but it's just showing you really how you can create a project, and it kind of walks you through the step-by-steps of what you have available. This would be different than the batch upload functionality. So this might be for more directed to customers who are new to the electrification process. So maybe not for this group specifically, but you can see the type of information that is requested. And in the batch upload version, we also have a video of that as well. So we can walk you through that. But if you have any questions while uploading projects and sharing them with utilities, please feel free to reach out. I'm always available, and I have a like book time with me link, so you can always get on my calendar. And so just to bring in the main focus that I like the key takeaway to be for today is just create your account, play around with the platform, and see what it is to create a project. You can try it both ways, batch upload and the guided version, so you can share it with other EV customers who might be interested in doing the same. So we really value feedback. So any feedback that you think of while you're using the platform, if anything feels clunky or there's some functionality that you think might work better another way, we'd love to hear it. And we're always developing this tool with you in mind and making sure that it's working well for everybody using the platform. So I can pause there, but I'm also going to show you some screenshots of what the platform actually looks like and kind of give you kind of a guided tour to get you started. But any questions on anything we've presented so far?
So Aaron, the site host can come in, they can play around with it. What exactly are they able to get into the details of seeing what utility footprint they're in this phase?
Yes.
Okay,
So
cool.
what they can do, so what they can do is they can see, well, they would, so when you say see the utility footprint they're in, do you mean like the actual location? Because that gets matched automatically, but it's once you share the project. Do you mean just looking at it before they submit any project information? Because another thing they can do is look at the potential utilities they could work with.
Okay. Yeah,
And they can
right. So
also,
it wouldn't physically match them yet, but they would be
exactly.
able to say, okay, I'm in PG&E right now.
Exactly. And we also have our e-roadmap tool that has a service territory map, so they can get a general sense of who they'd be working with with that tool. So you can think of e-roadmap and GridFast as kind of sister tools in that sense. And they can see who they might be working with, find out what information they have on GridFast, and they can get a complete picture that way too.
Hey, Aaron, do you happen to have a version, a window open of GridFast in the test environment?
I can pull it up very quickly.
Yeah, because I was going to point at one thing there.
Yeah. Let me pull it up.
And I was actually asking because if you want to put in 50 locations in Iowa,
Yeah.
where I live, that was not covered by GridFast.
So they can still submit projects in Iowa and they would still be matched automatically.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they would still be matched to the appropriate utility. And from there, you'd be working with me. And so I would be in charge of making sure you're connected to the utility. We've actually had a really good run of successful connections this whole week. It's kind of been a hot streak. And so I would be the one making sure that you get the right contact person. And even if the utility is not in GridFast yet, we'll connect you with them via email, and then you can continue that way. So you will still get that match component of GridFast, even if they're not on the platform quite yet. And Watson, this is the test environment.
Yeah. So if you go to the resources tab there, after you set up, and you can go to utilities, and so this is the test environment. So it's used like, I don't know if you've ever done it. Yeah. Don't look too much at what's in here because it's kind of like that messy test environment thing where you try things out, but as you see, there's a column for the welcome package, and do you mind sorting on that just to see?
This is an example, and
okay, if that's a good example, is the ABC good enough?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
So this is our fake utility that we created, but this is the type of information that they could share with you. If they have a hosting capacity map, they can link it. They can also put any EV relevant programs or rates. We also encourage utilities to just specify, are there any locations where you have excess capacity and it might be easier to electrify? Utilities don't have to put all of these resources, but they have the ability to put all of them and keep it dynamic and up to date.
So the compliment we got from, like, I'm sorry for sharing compliments we got, but the compliment we got from Pacific Gas and Electric actually yesterday was, they said, this is great, this welcome package, the fact that you're standardizing this thing because it gets utilities focused on, sharing the information that the EV customers need. And so, but also while we were developing this is really driven by a guy from Enterprise, Matt Cloud, and he was saying, like, I just need to know what programs and things are relevant to my projects and things that I can't sort through the utility websites to figure out what I need to know. I like put this together in a package, and so that's where a lot of this kind of stuff came from, us listening to folks that are working on these projects and trying to make things happen.
Do you have an idea of how often the utilities are updating their welcome information?
I mean, we just did the soft launch in March, so
okay.
yeah.
Oh,
and one thing I'll note is that a lot of utilities, what they like to do is link specific pages on their website. So you can kind of imagine it'll be updated on the cadence their websites are updated. But they can put PDFs if they like.
Yeah, I was thinking more along the load readiness map. I mean,
yes,
that's going to be key, but yeah.
Yes. And so you can on eRoadmap, and if they're available on eRoadmap, you also see them on GridFast. You'll be able to see exactly when the last time they were updated was. So for example, SCE updates every day. And so we have our API pulls from theirs. And so that is what's implemented on both eRoadmap and GridFast, the latest that the utility has shared.
Smart. Nice.
And so I can quickly just show you what it looks like in general from the customer point of view. So you saw the test environment, and going to show you kind of similar thing, but a little bit more guided this way. We focus on making sure the organization and transparency are key in this platform. So you can see just at a glance all the projects that you have in the works with all of the utilities. And you can see here we're a fake company, ABC Logistics. And we can see that ABC Logistics can work with is working with all of those utility contacts. So you can obviously communicate with them on the platform, but if you would like to communicate with them via email, you have those email addresses ready as well. The way we structure GridFast, and I know Watson was kind of going through the stages, is from the start at the left, and it matures to the right. So project input is when you would start, you're putting in your project information, you're checking, you can save it as a draft, you don't have to share it with the utility yet. Once you have all the information ready and you're ready to share, you can go ahead and send it to the utility. You will be in complete control of the information you send. In fact, at the end of each project, the guided project form, you'll be able to have a preview of exactly what you're sending to the utility, so you know what has been shared and what hasn't. Once the utility accepts the match, they will be able to give you more project-specific information. So if they have a screenshot of their hosting capacity that they don't want to put on the welcome package, but they want to share with you at your project level, they can do that on a project-by-project specific basis. And then once you share that information and you can check any follow-up questions, in September, we're also launching an improvement to our checklist feature, where we will be able to see exactly what is on your to-do list, what is on the utility to-do list, and you can each check off when each task has been completed, just again to increase transparency. And once you have all of that information ready, you would be in the preparation for service request. And when you're actually ready to submit, at this moment, you do not submit on the GridFast platform. But once we develop that EV Common App feature, which is coming within the next year, where you would actually be able to submit directly on the platform, that's the ultimate goal. That would be, the end. You come to the end of the journey on GridFast and actually submit. But for now, you will need to submit the finalized information directly to the utility. Any questions on how that works, the process through GridFast? And we can definitely, as you go through it, feel free to reach out with any questions. I know it's a lot of info at once. This is what your project summary page would look like. So you have your site address, you have the utility you're working with and whether they've confirmed the match or not. So you know that the utility has received it when they confirm the match. Then you can see basically this is the when, where, and how much load is coming up at the top. And so we provide the peak load and GridFast. And what GridFast does is they kind of vet the load that has been requested by the customer to give utilities a little bit more assurance as well, because based on the information you provide, we can estimate a peak load. If you're doing a batch upload and you already know what your peak load is, we don't need to provide an additional one, but we do have that functionality if you'd like it. And then we're going to switch gear to the utility view. It's going to look very similar, but it's missing that first stage. So this is, again, our test environment. We're pretending to be PG&E, but we no longer have that project input stage because the utility journey starts once you share the information with them. So no information is shared with the utility until you choose to do so. But again, the structure is very similar. They will see all the projects in their service territory at a glance, and they know who they're working with. So your contact information is also provided to them. And similarly, it does mature from left to right, so you can see exactly where your project is in the process. Any questions on that? In the last couple of minutes, I can just give you a brief kind of overview on how to get started. And again, we will share all of these slides so you can go through it in your own time and at your own pace, and always reach out with questions. Okay, so hearing none, I'll move on. So first step is just identify the staff that you'd like to be uploading projects. You can have as many staff as you'd like on the platform, and you can assign an admin user and a standard users. So admin users just have a little bit more rights to decide, who can make bigger changes to the platform and decisions on the account. But standard users can still submit projects and communicate with the utility. It's just understanding who you kind of want to be the lead of your GridFast account is what we recommend the admin user to be. Then actually creating the GridFast account is what some companies struggle with a little bit more, just because there's an intermediate step. You need to make sure you have your EPRI login info. So we need to have you register with EPRI to verify that you're a legitimate business. And that way we prevent like spam and bots to come in on the platform. But once you have your EPRI ID, signing up for GridFast is pretty easy. If you do run into any issues while you're doing that, please reach out. And we guide you through it on the Register for GridFast button. So if you go to our landing page and hit Register for GridFast, you'll be guided through the process. But let me know if there's any other questions. Once you have go ahead.
I've got one, but I'm not sure if it applies to GridFast or GridReady, or maybe it's actually in GridFast, in both.
Go for it.
When you're looking at the materials from the utility and stuff, do they also list demand charge solution options from their utility in that material, or is that more of the GridReady program? A lot of our folks struggle to find that information.
That's a great question. That would be up to the utility depending on what they have ready to share. But if you do have a question for them, you can ask that through GridFast. I don't know if Watson, you have anything you wanted to add there.
Yes, so yeah, the grid ready thing wouldn't have that thing you're talking about. Yes, so that would be um, something that the utility would have to provide around the load management kind of solutions there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that would definitely be something to ask the utility. And if it's something that a lot of customers, see a need for, we could take note of that and try to incorporate it into our welcome package as a potential option. Not all utilities would have to fill it out, but that might be something that we can discuss for future enhancements.
Yeah.
And I have DOE money to work on that. So if
Nice.
somebody was super interested in having feedback and giving guidance on that, I have DOE money to work on that.
I think it's absolutely necessary, and not just for the end user, but for all the other 3,200 utilities to say,
Yes.
what is the best solution for me? Here are 20 different examples of how we can tackle the demand charge issue, which is kind of killing a lot of the smaller charge point operators still, and it's been an ongoing problem. So no, I think it would be good for the whole environment. So whatever I can do to help.
Okay. No, I'll follow up with you again. Again, our plan is to, in the implementation of whatever we figure out the solution is to put it into GridFast.
That would be great.
So
Yeah.
that's the pathway, but I don't have the solution yet. So that's I have to work on what that is still.
Okay.
Aaron, I think Matt had a question in the chat for you.
Oh, let me take a look.
Oh.
So, why have you chosen to end GridFast process of the new service application? Have you considered how this tool integrates with processes for new service line extension, design, easement, construction, energization? So that's a great question. When you say integrates with new processes for service line extension, is that kind of past the service request
Yeah,
and more into the construction? Maybe
Yeah,
Weston, do you have a good?
yeah, and this is where we ran into a lot of questions from the utilities because they didn't want to have a duplicate process at that point. And so they really wanted to then, once things get to the service request phase, they wanted it to be going through the processes that they already have and those tools. So that was actually, one of the, strong feedbacks we got from the utilities of stopping at the service request and giving a good clean handoff and not creating confusion that we're carrying it beyond that.
When we first talked about this we were talking about how this is a way to help utilities gauge their new demand
Yes.
as well. So if they got to go in front of their utility board, now they've got something to show. I've got X in my queue. This is what I got for infrastructure. We're looking like this.
And what, essentially what this builds, and I know we're over time here now, but essentially what this builds now is a table for the utility side where all the projects are, the timeline, the power level, the location. And so now they have this table of all those projects and they can start looking at, okay, these projects are all clumping around, common areas. Maybe we should start, thinking about substation upgrades around there. So it helps them with that process of like thinking about this holistically. The way things are going right now, and it's a problem, is each project is looked at individually and it goes through the pipeline individually. And what we're trying to do is to get that process started earlier so that the utilities have again, that table and say, oh, look at these 5 projects in this one area. I should start planning and doing the work ahead of time now because these 5 are coming, And so that's kind of why we say get it in as early as possible, even if it's just, like a intentions, because that can actually, if there's 6 projects that are landing in the same area, then the utility knows that it's likely that a good number of them are going to move forward. You know what I mean? And so it gives them the ability to kind of make sure that they're better prepared.
Yeah, and we do encourage the customers to, be transparent about where they are in the process. So actually, one of the questions we do ask is, how likely are you to move forward? Just very directly, and so that communication will also is also a key part as well. Any other questions on that? That's great discussion. I know we're over time, so I'll just wrap this up really quickly and then send you the slides so you can, again, so much information. Feel free to reach out with any additional questions. So you can set up your company settings, make sure the platform is representing you well, and you have your contact info there as well. And then you can set up your notifications, so you will get notified on the platform for everything, like if you've been given additional project info, if there's anything new on the checklist. But since we didn't want to flood emails, you have the option to get a daily roundup or a weekly roundup, whatever you'd like. But on the platform, you'll be able to see each notification as well. And lastly, we encourage you to create a high-level electrification plans document. It's a form that we have just with a few questions on GridFast to help guide you through questions like, when do you plan to electrify your fleet? Do you have a lot of sites planned in general? And that does get shared with the utility when you submit a project on your platform, so they have a general sense of how serious you are about electrification, which again is going to give them a little bit more insight into how they should work with you, where your priorities are, and what the next steps might be. And I think that is a great stopping point for today, but let me know if you have any questions before we head out.
I don't think so, other than, what your ask would be. Your ask would be to get more site host participation in here for all the reasons we talked about, as far as planning, scheduling, logistics on both sides. And so I think our next step will be to take this along with our Liz's AI summary, and we'll put something out to the whole council. And typically when I do that, I ask them to, okay, if you're going to engage with EPRI on this, give me some feedback so I understand what's going on, and Carl understands what's going on. So that'll be our next step anyway.
Yes, definitely the key takeaway would be to have the site hosts from different companies create their own accounts. So each company will have their account, and they can have as many people on it as they'd like from the organization, and start sharing projects that are, in the 2026, 2027 timeline is perfect for GridFast, and get those projects moving forward.
Excellent. Thank you very much for your time, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you all. It's great to meet you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
All
Have
right,
a
we'll
good
be
night.
in touch.